Around a week ago, one of my classes had a guest speaker come in and talk to us, and his story was incredible. I just want to take the time to share it with you. The man's name is Scott Freed. He's 51 years old and he lives with AIDS. Before Scott told us his story, he told us those of his friends who were dying of AIDS. And as Scott visited them on their deathbed, they were more alive and present than he had ever been, than maybe we will ever be. He was amazed by that, and that's what he really wanted to talk to us about. Then he began his story, how he got AIDS, which really is its own entire topic, but I'm going to summarize it for you. He was betrayed by someone who told him they would be having safe sex. His trust was taken advantage of, and as a result, he got AIDS. But getting AIDS wasn't even the biggest part of his story. It was more living with AIDS, what he experienced as a result of it. From then on out, some of the only friends he could truly have were people in an AIDS support group, who were all fighting the disease together. And over the course of his time there, he's watched hundreds of his friends die from this disease. Then he would go to their funerals and he'd be in the car with the parents, and the parents would say to him, "Hey, by the way, if anyone asks how you knew our son, just tell them you went to college together." And Scott would say, "Well, why is that?" The car would turn silent. And Scott knew. In fact, on multiple occasions he was told by parents of the deceased, of his friend, "If you tell people how you knew our son, we will ask you to leave." So he would go around the funerals and people would walk up to him and say, "Man, what a shame, dying from lung cancer at 31. Because they didn't know. And what's maybe worse is that when people were dying with AIDS, they would be in a nursery home or not even allowed to come to the comfort of their own home. Because even the parents were thinking, we can't sell this house if word gets out that someone died of AIDS here. Back then, the actual medical term for AIDS was GRID, gay-related immune deficiency. And it was that total lack of an attempt to understand what was really going on that forced so much stigma upon people with AIDS, both straight and gay. And it was terrible. And it was in this cycle of AIDS, friend, death, that gave Scott the opportunity to talk to people on their deathbeds. And they were more alive than they had ever been. And the reason was because they accepted it. They understood what was going on, all the stigma they faced, that they were going to die, but they accepted that. And this is when Scott started realizing it doesn't matter what other people think of me, my lifestyle, my disease. I breathe, I belong, so I am enough. And once Scott realized that, his life was happy. He started saying, no matter what, I'm here and I'm enough. And that's good enough. He goes around the country and the world really talking about this, telling people that, whether you have anorexia or you're bullied or something just doesn't go your way, you are enough. And that sounds really cheesy and cliched, but it's amazing that you can come to that realization despite all your circumstances, if you can really just be confident with who you are. I personally have been really fortunate in that I've not felt that I'm not enough in a really long time. But there are people out there who do feel like this on a much more frequent basis. So maybe this sounds a little stupid, but if you can accept that you are here and that you are enough, I think it'll give you a really interesting perspective on life. Hopefully we can get people to that realization before they absolutely have to. That would be awesome. If you want to learn more about Scott Freed and his story, there's lots of information in the description, so check it out.